dispenser and poured it on a man and his baby. She also slapped the cop who was cuffing her. No more sake for that gal. The caloric content is much greater than in Jello wrestling. More than 1,500 people gathered in the English town of Backup for the World Gravy Wrestling Championships recently. In the contest, which of course is hosted by a pub, superhero costume competitors squared off in a 100-gallon tank of gravy for 2 minutes, and the winners are declared by the audience. And finally, news of the weird for today, almost 25,000 applicants took the University of Liberia entrance exam, and everyone failed. Officials blamed the mass failure on the country's poor education system. Critics complained that the school did pretty well anyway, since they charged test takers $25 each. And that, my friends, concludes today's news of the weird. You know, the thing about the entrance exam to Liberia reminded me of what a friend of mine told me about what happened to him in a Religion 101 class in college. This was a couple of years after I took the same class. And I know the professor. I've known him for over 30 years. As a matter of fact, he's the father of 2 very good friends of mine, one of which was in my class growing up. Well, anyway, after their first test of this Religion 101 class, the professor said, I am an optimist. And looking over these test results, the highest score was like a 80 or 85%. You know, and then the next one was like a 60%. So he graded on quite a curve, which is something he normally didn't do. But anyway, he said, I am an optimist, and I always believe there's room for improvement. And believe me, after looking at these test results, there's a lot of room for improvement. Anyway, I was thinking of that as I read that story. Well, let's see here. We'll do tweets of the day and have a new intro for that, which I put together right before this show. Here it is.
And you can always follow me on Twitter.
Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The keyboard. How quaint.
And it's time for today's Twitter feed of the day. Popular tweets of the day. As the United States edges closer to a military strike on Syria, I've searched the Twitter, or tweeter as Governor Rick Perry called it there, for comments. Sadly, more people are still commenting on Cyrus than Syria, but here is the mood so far. Rob Fee writes in, it's tough for Obama to focus on a decision on Syria, with Joe Biden next to him, thrusting him into a washing machine and yelling, is this twerking? Trevor Noah says, okay, so America is attacking Syria for the chemical gas thing, but who's attacking America for the Miley Cyrus thing? I think the Billy Ray Cyrus family is. Brian Donaldson writes in, only 9% of Americans polled are in favor of invading Syria. Congrats, Congress. You're slightly more popular than starting another war. Pardon me. And finally, Banned T-Shirts writes in, instead of attacking Syria, how about we don't attack Syria? I'm all for that one. Definitely for that one. We don't need another stinking war. Well, it's time for the Song of the Day. And today's Song of the Day is a departure from my normal routine. Originally, I was going to play a song to pay tribute to my dad's memory. But my dad was all for looking out for the greater good of humanity. And though he would probably never say it, I believe that he was ahead of his time, and he didn't believe in spanking children. He never spanked me, which explains why I get away with a lot of stuff. And also, he was reluctantly in favor of women's rights. Won't get into that right now. But he did believe in, people are sometimes the victim of their own circumstance, whether it's thrust upon them or through choice. But along that theme, I've decided to play this very popular protest song. It was recorded 4 years ago at the Morehouse College. And this is the Morehouse College Glee Club performing We Shall Overcome. It's arranged by Wendell P. Wallum. And it's at the 2009 Candle on the Bluff Awards. And it's a very popular protest song, We Shall Overcome. And we'll play it for you now in its entirety on this edition of First Cup. Welcome back to Studio 26 on this edition of First Cup. And what do you say we find out what's on television tonight, shall we? And here's a brief look at what's on the old television tonight. All times are Eastern. Start off with Travel Channel, Barbecue Crawl Season 1 finale at 8 o'clock. HDTV, Property Brothers Season 5 premiere at 9 o'clock. Cheer Perfection Season 2 premiere at 9:30 on TLC. Best Dame Takeout is on Travel Channel at 10. That's Season 1 finale. Shark Hunter Season 1 finale, 10 o'clock on MSNBC. Top Shot Season 5 finale, 10 o'clock tonight on History Channel. Tough Love Season 6 finale at 10 o'clock on VH1. And finally, The X's Season 3 summer finale, pardon me, is on at 10:30 tonight on TV Land. And that's a brief look at what's coming up on the old television for tonight. Well, as promised, we're going to have some closing thoughts here. And right now, we're going to load this card over here. And this is the speech made by Martin Luther King Jr. on this date 50 years ago, this very day, which coincidentally was a Wednesday, and was my dad's 20th birthday. And here is what was going on in Washington, D.C. 50 years ago, this very day.
At this time, I have the honor to present to you the moral leader of our nation. I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society.